We're talking about becoming masters of our own destiny, of our own reality, by understanding how to get to the part that we're trying to get to, the manifestation part. How do we get to the part where we manipulate the matrix? How do we get to the part where we control our destiny, and where we operate in this unconditional love state, and how we can use that to impact the world and others? How do we get to 5D consciousness? How do we do all of that? You have to understand these things. This is what they taught in the mystery schools. This science, these quantum mechanics, these quantum physics, these theoretical physics, these are what was taught in the mystery schools. Sciences, because you can't really do the higher things based off of memory, remembering answers, by memory, the memory of answers. You have to get there through actual understanding of every step-by-step process that interconnects with all the processes to get you to the ascended master level. This is really the way, in my opinion, the best way for the average person to research and understand this information, versus it being so mystical and whimsical and seeming like a lot of magic. I think by breaking it down this way, when you go through the things that we're going to talk about at the end, you're going to be like, oh, okay, this is when I do this, this is what's happening. And when I do this, this is why that's syncing with that, and why it's creating this law of attraction. This is the part, this is what I'm trying to build up to, guys. I'm trying to get you to understand how to go from A to Z in a way that will allow you to replicate that and understand it while you're going through it, instead of just guessing. I hope I'm doing this right. Maybe it's working, maybe it's not. No, you'll know, because you now know the basics of it, and you can go back to this video over and over and over again and keep researching and keep studying and becoming better and expanding your understanding of it more and more and more. It's a lot to take in just one lecture, one workshop. Quantum walkers, caught in the loop. One of the things you're going to find through meditation, especially a Merkaba meditation, is that you're going to be quantum. You're going to have the capability of quantum walking. Thoth talks about this in my book, The Emerald Tablets. And it's all about matching a resonant frequency with another dimension, or even another realm, or even another reality, and being able to transfer not your physical avatar body, but your consciousness to that place. So it's something called quantum walking. It's a real, actual thing that happens. And I came across this. I was doing a meditation on the beach a few years ago, and I had this weird experience. And when I came back from this experience, I felt like I left this earth and went to a different earth. Even though it was earth, it was a futuristic earth, but I still was in the same spot in the same exact place. And it was so real to me that I sat down for a while and just tried to gather myself as to what I just experienced. It only happened for a few fleeting moments. And I said to myself, quantum walking. I just quantum walked. It was just a term that just came to my mind. When I got home, I went Googling quantum walking, and guess what pops up? It's a real term in quantum physics. It's real. It really does exist. A quantum walk is a quantum mechanical analog of a classical random walk, describing the propagation of quantum walkers, which are photons, remember, light waves, through an optical circuit, because quantum walks generate large-scale quantum superposed states that can be used for simulating many body quantum systems and development of algorithms in quantum computation. I mean, I can go on and on, but the point is, this is real. And when you get into the right types of meditation, you'll have the capability of quantum walking as well. Now, when I was talking earlier about your brain receiving this stream of information and sending back information back to source, and this as above, so below probability sequence, and I was saying that the magnetite crystal, the correlates of consciousness neurons, and the colostrum and all that work together to encapsulate and temporally encapsulate this stream of consciousness and lock it into this avatar frequency, so that you can actually animate this body and utilize it in the third dimension. What was I talking about, this stream? Well, scientists did experiments and discovered that we're not living in real time. But what we think is real time here as human beings doesn't exist. Things are happening ahead of us, and then the body is getting the stream of information and deciphering it and discerning it, and then we're living the projected holographic reality a few seconds later. Here's an article from a real scientific study. Brain scans reveal your decisions can be made 7 seconds before you even decide. In a kind of spooky experiment, scientists at the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences reveal that our decisions are made seconds before we become aware of them. I talk about this all the time, but people always go, well, where's the article? Where's the article? Well, now I'm showing you the article, okay? The only condition was that they had to remember when they made the decision to either use their right hand or left hand. They also did something where they took people and put them in these rooms, these separate rooms, and they put on the screen images, and they put that little electrode capturing plate over their heads to collect the electromagnetic activity from the brain and send it to a computer. This was actually an accident. They weren't trying to find out if we were living in this delay. They were trying to find out and map the human brain, what it felt, what it saw, what the computer thought the brain looked like for emotional purposes. Like when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're fearful, when you're afraid, when you're scared, when you're excited. They wanted to map that. And they put these images up 10 seconds apart. And what started happening was they would show a serene bed of roses or a field of roses. They would show a woman, and a baby. Then they would show somebody getting shot or stabbed. And so these created different emotional responses. What started happening was up to 7 seconds in advance, the brain was sending to the computer what the next image was going to be. It was going to be exciting. It was going to be something that was horrible, horrific. It was going to be loving. The brain was transmitting this information to the computer up to 7 seconds in advance. How? Why? Because we're living in a delayed reality. So we're not in real time. Real time is existing up to 7 seconds ahead of everything that we're experiencing in this realm. And even that goes deeper than that, because even when you look at me, right now, you're looking at me through your mobile device. There's a delay there. So even if I was standing in front of you, there will still be a delay. Why? Because a photon has to bounce off of me, then it has to go into your retina, then it has to go to the back of your brain, then it's got to get deciphered, and then the brain's got to project a hologram of what I look like to you. That takes time. It takes milliseconds, but it takes time. So because of that, when you see me, when you finally see me, observe me, I've already moved. You're not seeing me in real time. Even at the photonic level, I'm not in real time. So imagine now at the conscious level, up to 7 seconds. Why is this important? It's important to understand this because you must go into these meditations to bring your discernment level to react to a closer to real time. In other words, what's happening is there's this wave of time, this wave of probabilities. And most people are at the bottom of these waves, and the waves crash on the people. They crash on us. And when the waves crash, that's when we experience our reality. Well, what we think is real-time reality. When you're operating from a higher level of consciousness, what happens is you get on top of the wave, and you ride the top of the wave because of your awareness now of what's really happening in this matrix system and what's really going on. Because of that, you're riding the top of the wave because now you're at another level. And so you're riding waves that glides across the ocean of space-time, and every time it crashes, you're still riding the next wave up. You're not at the bottom of the wave waiting for it to crash over you so you can experience what's happening now. Your discernment level has been elevated almost to a real-time status. So as things are getting ready to happen, you're already discerning them as they're moving into that state, that reality state, or this third-dimensional reality state, putting you ahead of the game of the average person, giving you the ability to see things before they happen and occur, and also having the split-second decision-making capabilities to make a different adjustment so that things work out as they should for you, okay?
We all have this very strong belief that we have conscious free will. And it's a central part of our idea of ourselves as individuals that we can want to do something, we can have an intention to do something, and then we can do it. We can make our intention drive our actions. And Benjamin Libet's work was one of the few experiments which made a truly innovative and courageous attempt to address that question.
Can't feel it being cold. Patrick Haggard's team are going to measure my brain activity in the run-up to a conscious decision, with electrodes placed on my scalp.
Okay, Susan, hello. You're all wired up and ready to go.
Absolutely.
We're going to record from your left motor cortex, your right motor cortex, and from the midline. I want you to watch the clock hand, which is rotating in this small clock in the center of the screen. And then at any time that you choose, when you intend and will to, I want you to press either this key or this key. As the urge takes you.
Fine, okay.
And then the computer will prompt you to type in the position of the clock hand at which you first felt the conscious will to press the button.
Good.
Any questions?
No.
Off we go.
It's very funny waiting for the urge, isn't it? So watching the clock, I record the exact time that I make the decision to act, while the electrodes on my head monitor the activity in my brain leading up to this decision. As I do this over and over again, a clear pattern starts to emerge.
So here are our results, which contain the same basic effect as they've originally found. The average time of the intention to move was where this arrow is here, and you can see that the motor areas of the brain have begun to build up electrical activity in preparation for this willed action 2,000 milliseconds at least before the action actually occurs.
Just as in the bit's original work, this experiment seems to show that my brain begins to prepare for movement long before I felt like I had consciously decided to move. So did I have any real choice about when I moved? Could the feeling of having made a decision just be an illusion?
So this looks like a real problem for our idea of conscious free will, because our assumption that we work with every day, I think, is that we decide what we want to do, and then, or I should say, I decide what I want to do, and then I am able to get my brain to drive my body to make it happen.
So you see, guys, what we're talking about here? We're talking about conscious free will. And from the perspective of that scientist, he doesn't understand that he's at the bottom of that crashing wave. We're now going to try to take through this understanding now, this higher level of understanding, to get you on the top of that wave.
This extraordinary form of lightning has been known about since the 1930s, but these pictures have finally confirmed its existence.
This is the first time that mankind has seen upward lightning in such detail as we're seeing right now, and our understanding of physics relating to these upward flashes is increasing immensely.
Tom has observed that upward lightning is triggered by a nearby cloud-to-ground lightning strike. In this image, a lightning strike produces a bright flash of light. In under a second, it initiates the formation of upward leaders from two radio masts. Why this happens is still a mystery. But Tom's theory is that the lightning strike causes large amounts of electric charge to build up around the top of a tall structure. And this charge leaps up and connects with a cloud above.
You'll see a delay between when the flash takes place and then the leader is shot up from the tower tip and goes upward.
The images Tom has filmed over the last few years have astounded the world of lightning science.
So what happened there, guys? You see that lightning strikes from the ground up, okay? Why is that important to understand? We're talking about getting on that wave. We're talking about riding the conscious wave, the universal energetic wave, and not being at the bottom of the crash of the wave. We're talking about understanding that lightning, which is your conscious thought, sending out light waves, conscious light waves into space-time, it goes up and then it meets and synchronizes and it strikes with the downward stream. So we're making this connection from up first, the leader, to the consciousness that already exists. And when you send that leading energetic up, that's when the two connect, just like lightning. As above, so below. It operates on all levels, on all planes. As above, so below. Lightning doesn't strike from the sky down. It strikes from the ground up, okay? There's other videos that I could have showed you where I don't think they were appropriate because it would show a lightning bolt coming out of a human being's head at a baseball game inside of a baseball arena, meeting up with a strike leader. Then obviously he got struck by lightning. But the leader strike went from his skull first. Conscious synchronicity with the universal consciousness and operating in law of attraction, operating in power and dominion in this realm operate the same way. The leader strike comes from your conscious thought. Now we're going to get into the Merkaba part of this. Now that we've been breaking this thing down little by little, we're going to talk about Metatron's cube, which is actually the Merkaba, four-dimensional cube.
Forbidden knowledge. 528 DNA. Forbidden knowledge.
Right here, when you unwrap a fourth dimensional cube or Metatron's cube, which is a fourth dimensional cube, which is encapsulated inside of the Merkaba or the star tetrahedron, when you unpack it into three-dimensional space-time, you get a cross. This is the origin of the cross. The origin of the cross is from here. And the origin of the cross existed long before any biblical stories were ever written or talked about or decided upon. The cross is older than even Coptic Cairo. Coptic Cairo had the cross long before Jesus was even born. It already existed. They already had churches and they had the cross. But the cross represented Metatron's cube in fourth dimensional space-time, higher dimensions of thought, and the unparalleled power that exists within the flower of life. It then later on got twisted into what it's become now. But it's a totally different, separate meaning than what people are believing right now. Everybody walking around with crosses on their necks and everything else. The reason why they think they're wearing it and the history behind it is so skewed and bent and twisted, they have really no idea what they're wearing. This is the true origin of the cross. It made it from this understanding and concept in ancient times. Eventually it became the cross of the Templars. It became the cross of the Coptic Cairo Christians, long before Christianity was known to be led by the Yeshua character. He himself wasn't even a Christian. That was something that was added much later on. But all this is built into this fourth dimensional cube.